Today our story begins in Italy, in a time when the world still believed that some promises could outlive the body itself. If you're listening to this, turn down your lights, because this is the story of Pupa, the doll that refused to be left behind. Welcome to the Dread Diaries. She was just a little girl when she first held the doll. The year was 1920-something, in a seaside Italian town where the streets were narrow and the ocean could be heard from every window. The girl's name has been lost to time, but her doll's name survived. Pupa was special from the very beginning. Not just because she was beautiful, a soft, cloth body, porcelain face, blue glass eyes and carefully painted lips curved into a small, knowing smile. No, she was special because she had been made to look exactly like the girl who owned her. Same blue eyes, same dark hair, same little dress. The old family stories would later whisper that a traveling craftsman had made the doll as a custom piece, a perfect mirror of the child who loved it. But the girl herself believed something more. That Pupa didn't just look like her. Pupa understood her. The girl took the doll everywhere. To the marketplace, where the smell of fresh bread and fish mixed in the air. To the seaside, where she'd sit with her legs hanging over the stone edge and tell Pupa about the waves, the boats, and the glittering horizon. At night, she would place Pupa beside her pillow, whispering secrets into the porcelain ear. I hate when Mama cries. I'm scared of the thunder. One day, I want to leave this town and see the world. As the years went on, the girl grew, but the doll remained the same. Pupa's eyes never dulled. Her smile never faded. Her dress, though cleaned and repaired, never truly aged. When she was frightened, the girl clutched Pupa. When she was lonely, she spoke to Pupa. And in her heart, she believed something with the certainty only children possess. When I die, my soul will stay with you. A promise? Softly spoken. Completely serious. The kind of promise that curls like a root into the unseen soil of the world, and waits. Years later, the world changed. There was a war. Then another. The little girl grew into a woman. She moved away, lived a life, laughed, grieved, and carried the quiet weight of memories that no one else shared. But through it all, Pupa followed. The doll sat on shelves in new countries. In apartments with tall windows and old radiators. In houses that never quite felt like home until Pupa was carefully placed somewhere safe. Neighbors would sometimes comment. It's uncanny, they'd say. She looks like you did in those old childhood photos. The woman would only smile, a little sadly. I know, she'd reply. We grew up together. Then time did what time always does. One winter, after a long illness, the woman died. The family gathered in grief. Children, grandchildren, relatives who knew her stories and relatives who only knew her as the quiet, kind old lady who made too much food for holidays. As they sorted through her belongings, they found Pupa sitting in the same spot she had occupied for decades. The doll's eyes seemed clearer than ever. Her painted lips, still curved in that faint, unsettling smile. There was no dust on her. No spider webs. Just waiting. They remembered something the woman used to say when asked why she still held onto a childhood toy. When I die, she had said, I won't really go. I made a promise to Pupa. My soul will stay with her. The family laughed it off then. They didn't laugh when the strange things started. At first, it was little things. Pupa was moved from her place on the shelf to a glass display cabinet, for safety. But sometimes when the family walked past, they could swear the doll's position had changed. A hand that had rested on her lap now pressed against the glass. A tilt of the head that hadn't been there before. Eyes that never blinked, and yet somehow never seemed to stare in the same direction twice. Then came the nights. Footsteps. Soft, almost hesitant, crossing the floors when everyone was in bed. Whispers, too faint to make out, murmuring in an empty room. Sighs. A woman's sigh, or a child's. No one could agree. One night, a young relative woke with the heavy feeling that someone was standing beside the bed. She held her breath, eyes shut, and listened. Something fabric soft brushed her arm. She opened her eyes. The room was empty. Later, when she walked past the display case, she noticed Pupa's cloth hand pressed firmly against the glass, fingers splayed as if trying to push through. Word spread through the family that the doll unnerved them. Eventually, they decided to place Pupa in a secure display, to stop her from getting damaged and, if they were honest with themselves, to put a barrier between them and whatever she had become. They put her in a glass case. Locked. Contained. At least, that's what they thought. Because every now and then, someone would spot 5 little words that appeared, faintly, fogged onto the inside of the glass. I do not like this. The writing would fade, smudged from the inside. No hand could reach the surface where the letters formed. After that, they began to hear something new. Soft tapping from inside the case. Tiny, repetitive knocks like fingertips against glass. Not all the time. Just often enough. Often enough for someone to whisper, half joking, half afraid. She's bored in there, and she wants out. Visitors came and went over the years. Friends of the family. Repairmen. Curious neighbors. Again and again they reported similar sensations when they stepped too close to the case. A sudden chill across the shoulders. The prickling sensation of being watched. A pressure in the room as if the air itself had leaned in. Some swore that if they stared into Pupa's glass eyes long enough, they could see their own reflection move, even when they did not. Others had dreams after visiting. Dreams of a doll's eye view, seeing people from a shelf, from inside a cabinet, from within the twisting glass of a display. Dreams of wanting to move but being unable to. Of wanting to speak but having only porcelain lips. Of banging again and again against a barrier, while no one heard. So now imagine this. You walk into a room and see her. A doll in a faded blue dress, a tiny parasol at her side, blue glass eyes that gleam in the low light. She does not blink. She does not breathe. But you feel it anyway. A presence. A patience. A promise. And in that moment, you remember the words spoken by a girl almost a century ago on a sunlit Italian street. When I die, my soul will stay with you. Did the universe hear her? Did something ancient lean in and say, very well, little one, if that is what you wish? We don't know. But somewhere behind glass, Pupa waits, watching every person who comes to see her. Remembering every face, every voice, every heartbeat that speeds up just a little when they meet her gaze. If you ever find yourself in that room looking into those eyes, remember this. You are not just looking at a doll. You might be looking at a woman trapped by a promise she made as a child, a promise that never let her go.